Hey, brother, I like the screen name Lion King. That's cool.
Yeah.
How you doing, Steven? Can you hear me?
All right, yeah, man.
Do I need to be louder, softer, anything to make it better?
No, it sounds good.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you
Yeah.
were on a long time ago, not like I'd expect you to remember, but we had a good old time. You were on, I think it was like 2012, whenever that record came out that you did something for us, but it was a whole lot of fun. And thanks for doing this. You're on,
Yeah, man.
you're on at a weird time, of course, because we just have been through this. Before we talk about the record, you obviously know everything is everything's changed here in Hawaii after this
Indeed.
major thing.
Indeed. Indeed.
You're one of the first cats actually that we've talked to since the whole thing. Do you have memories at all with Lahaina? I know you've been attached to reggae is such a huge thing in the islands. Do you have any kind of personal experiences yourself here?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, man. From the time of the Melody Makers, when Damien and Julian were just coming out, and I remember us all coming there, and it was very such a monumentous time for us. It still is. It's still one of my fondest memories being together is in Hawaii.
Wow, that's cool. And any particular island, was that around the islands? Maui, was it here or?
I think it was. I tell you the truth, I don't remember which island it was. I think
Sure.
it was Maui. Yes.
Well, the islands sort of blend, and that's one of the things. Thinking about the way that this kind of culture, island culture, if you will, has been such a part of your
Yeah.
life. The old soul record, it has this. There's this music video that kind of makes me think of what we were just talking about, and it has a lot of the legacy of the Jamaican heritage, and your heritage connects so long back. It's such a
Yeah.
deep and rich thing that has island connections, and of course, reggae is such a big thing here. Take us through putting together the video and perhaps how it sparked memories, stories, and worked on the record.
You know, um, putting together the video, it was for me was bittersweet in that sense. In December, I lost my first child, my son. So it just the song comes at such a time when I'm going through such a thing. So
It's very heavy,
yeah,
and
yeah.
at the same time, it captures lines like, and I give you my best on that, brother. I give you a huge hug and
Thank you. Yeah,
and a high five and all the aloha and that I can offer you. But I think of lines like April 1972, my mom and papa brought me through.
yeah,
Things like that. I'm an old soul living in the body of a 9-year old. Guess I've been here before.
yeah,
When talk about when you, because that's a great thing about you guys. Sometimes there's these words, and then you think of your pop, especially for those of us who he's
yeah,
provided. Your dad's music, thinking about comforting people in times of need.
yeah.
Wow, you think about how many of us have turned to your dad's music. Like, not that you haven't, but
Indeed.
so many people find that to be comforting, and that when you think of that line, I'm an old soul living in the body of a 9-year old. Guess I've been here before. And that kind of where do you come up with your lyrics, brother? Where do you sit? Is there a time of day? Is there a time that you spend? Do you dedicate it? Do you say I'm going to write, or does it just come on its own?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you sit down and try to, write in that aspect of in that approach. Okay, let me write a song today. To
Mm,
feel like it's been a while since I've jotted anything now.
right.
But for the most part, we really draw from life and inspiration from the things that are happening around us and in the world and people, our human family and love and all of these things. So there's no real method to how me write a song, really. Just what's inspiring me on that day or at that moment. You know.
There's a
But
I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, let me point out though, Old Soul, was co-written by Omi,
Right.
which right, and he had a big part of the beginning of shaping the song, so to speak. So I must point that out, and he's such a great songwriter. I wasn't aware of the depth of his songwriting until now, actually.
Well, that's in so many of the greatest songs that we have, somebody else
Yeah,
covers and takes.
indeed.
I mean, think of all of the great things that, like, from Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix put. I mean, and it's funny because of some of the guests on your record and the way that, and we'll talk about that in a moment, that they've helped other people's music along. That's a funny theme in your stuff. There's this new studio. It just sounds cool just because I can imagine it's very tropical there, but try to paint a picture because it's radio. New studio, remote family farm during the lockdown and the pandemic. So many interesting stories emerged. You guys are in Florida in the countryside,
Yeah.
holding these nightly jam sessions. I don't want to talk about it too much. Explain how it all came together and describe it, sort of what it was like there. Paint a picture visually if you can.
Okay. Well, it's not a new studio. It's a makeshift studio, so to speak, because it's in a garage,
Okay.
on the farm. So yeah, we have a farm here with mangoes and lychees and avocados and all of these things, and most of all, just space.
Yeah.
And in the thick of the pandemic, the walls were closing in, so to speak, and we needed space. We couldn't our creative juices, and when I say our, it's because I know my brothers share the same sentiments because we speak about it.
Right.
But our creative juices was somewhat in observation mode, so to speak. And the farm here, it just so much space and the earth and nature and all of these things that no city is not the city, so you have time to hear the birds and time to just be in nature, and that helped us a lot for just open up and get a little bit of normalcy in that time.
Oh, and the natural inspiration of being with birds, brother. I mean, they are magical when you stop and smell the roses of, especially here, we have these little doves that walk around, these zebra doves and spotted doves, and they are just so, wow. I know exactly what you mean when you stop.
Right.
So you're isolated in that world. And the record also, there's you've got original compositions that are part of things that you were jamming on and presenting to folks with this. And then you've got talk about the classics recorded by Ray Charles, Frank Sinatra, the Beatles, which I think for people listening who may know a little of your legacy and your pop's legacy, explain your connection to these.
Well, the connection to those songs, Ray Charles and is really, first of all, just love for music. And me growing up, I always gravitated to that era. That era is something about that era of music and the sound of the recording and just everything, the vocals, the lyrics, and it always had my heart. So Ray Charles I always sing that song, going to the guitar, like me in my moment alone, not surrounded by anyone. But if I take up the guitar, and it's just me, that's one of the songs I would just play and sing because, of the jazz chords of it and just the exercise of it. But, as I said, that whole era, though, is something that, I emulate and hold dear in that sense. So,
how were you introduced to Ray Charles?
My grand aunt used to have all these records.
What's her name?
Well, Auntie. That's what we call her. That was her name, affectionately known as Auntie.
Okay. And the Sinatra from Auntie too?
No, the Sinatra is another old friend of my father that would just come to where my dad's house is and would just sing it.
Joe Higgs?
Joe Higgs, I came across it. I wasn't aware of that song, but Joe obviously and the part in play with our family and the culture,
So
you
this is a
know.
different guy though than you're saying. This was not Joe Higgs who inspired the Sinatra.
No, no, not Joe Higgs. No, no, no.
Okay.
No, a virgin by the name of Leghorn.
Oh, okay. That's the
So,
cat.
so let me tell you who Leghorn is now. So Leghorn, because Leghorn, there's a story behind Leghorn. Leghorn is known to be the person that my father sang talking blues about. Your feet is just too big for your shoes. That's that guy he was talking about. It's called Legon.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think he's credited on the song as well. Legon Cogill is his name. But
Okay.
yeah, so he was the one that always sing a cigarette that bears lipstick traces, round ticket to romantic places. And I'm just, as I said, that era just always captivated me.
Oh, it
So
sounds so nice, brother. Thank you for
yeah,
singing,
yeah.
and your voice is like it's such a relief.
Thank you, man.
I love hearing that. That's such a beautiful. And the Beatles, is that another separate cat who came? How did that come into you?
The Beatles came about from my brethren Salam Remy, who is, a great producer.
Yeah, famous cat.
Yeah, and a great friend of mine. So I always bounce ideas back and forth with him. And he was the one that said, I think this song here would fit these vibes that you're doing. And I was like, yeah, we sang. And he sang a bit of it. But I know that song not from the Beatles. I know that song from Marcia Griffiths doing a cover of it. That's how I was introduced to that song.
Ah.
From Marcia Griffiths doing a cover of it. And then later finding out that it's a Beatles song. But my first introduction to that song was from Marcia Griffiths, which was one of the singers that sang with my dad.
Right, in
In
the
the I trees.
I trees, right,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
incredible. With which also your mom was a part of,
Yes, indeed.
and
Yes. Her version of that song is the one that I fell in love with, really.
okay,
And
don't let me down. We're talking about.
yes, yes, don't let me down.
And it's interesting because now this is the second time we're talking about covers and stuff being important. And again, the record, excuse me, the record title track "Old Soul" is you working on something originally penned by Jamaican artist Omi. But there is on this record, there was a cover. So we go way back into the early '70s, and your pop has "I Shot the Sheriff," and it's bubbling. Your dad is starting to really bubble, and he's happening. He's going to a lot of places. People don't realize unless they follow all the bootlegs. You can trail Bob's work through the bootlegs and listen to him on YouTube,
Yeah,
and go
yeah,
way, way, way back and hear him in Boston and stuff in '73, and just incredible history.
yeah.
So Bob was exposing himself to lots of folks with this music, but talk in your own way about how you see the role Eric Clapton played in your father's life before we talk about him collaborating on this record.
Well, I mean, the history that's there. Eric Clapton was a successful artist that came across Bob and Bob's music and gravitated to this song called "I Shot the Sheriff." Did a version of Bob's song and it caught on. And from there, so the history is there. You know what I mean? But just him gravitating to Bob's music and Bob's words, what Bob was singing. And for my dad, when you ask him about "I Shot the Sheriff," him tell you say, boy, he was getting a fight in his own group. So he had to shoot all the sheriffs. So for him, it have a different meaning than even what Eric Clapton know. But it's just to see how the music transcends boundaries and you never can tell. So it was an honor.
I love that. Get back up a second, and again, from your
Yeah, yeah.
dad's point of view, explain a little bit more how your dad viewed the lyrical message of that song. Talk about that.
Well, in his words, right, in his words, he said, he was getting a fight in his own group, so he had to shoot all the sheriff. He had to shoot the sheriff. So whatever that mean to him, whoever the sheriff was it has a different meaning than police to Bob.
So it's members of the Whalers is what we're talking about.
whoever, it could be management. I get
you. But that's and then the other interesting part of it, though, which I've never, and you were very young when you lost your pop, so I'm sure some of this you've been told from others, but like, what did your dad think of Clapton's cover, which, like you said, I mean, because Bob was already happening on an international basis, but this blew it into a lot of new people's ears. Did he ever talk? What was his opinion of the Clapton cover?
I have never heard him say anything negative about it. In that aspect, I don't remember personally him speaking about it, but I know that I've never heard anything negative in any way.
Did they ever meet? Did they ever meet in person?
I'm not sure.
What an interesting guy Clapton is, because in the last year, just to paint a picture of our own here at the radio station, we had Ozzy Osbourne on at the beginning of this year, and he just had Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck on his record, and he had a #1 hit with Eric. And then several months later, we had jazz icon guitar player John McLaughlin, and John got invited to be part of the Jeff Beck tribute show at the Royal Albert Hall that Eric Clapton put together. So there's this totally different connection, right? So you go from Ozzy to John McLaughlin, these totally different cats. And now we're talking to you, Stephen Marley. Right. And we're talking about, so you have Eric Clapton on this record. Who came up with the idea? How'd you get in touch with him? Is there any interesting story? I'm just going to assume it was done remotely, but if not, then you'll tell us.
Yeah, it was remotely, but there's definitely an interesting story. So I met Eric, while I was doing the production for an unreleased Bob song, which was called Slogans. And he came and played the guitar. Eric came to the studio and, he played the guitar on the song.
Was that incredible when he came? Were you like, wow?
That was amazing in New York. Very amazing, and just again, being around that era of me reminded me so much of my father, in a sense of just his musicianship and his approach to music. It's just so easy and effort, nothing complicated. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But that's when I met him at that session, and him asked me. He was pleased with the production, like, wow, you did this, and I did this and thing, and he asked me to come and play some percussion on his record, so I did that, and that's how I met him, and we have had that type of a relationship.
What a beautiful thing for you. And then when you did the percussion for him in person with him again, so a second time again.
Same session. We just finished Bob thing and did his thing.
Okay, all at once. I get it.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing. And that's what I meant about the diversity here. And so then you just contacted him and said, hey, I'm doing this thing. I'd love to have you on it.
Yeah, my manager.
Okay. Yeah,
my manager.
That's funny. No, I get it, because that's the same thing when I asked Ozzy. He's like, oh, my business manager in England knows. And it was the same kind of funny story. And finally, before I wrap it up with you, because there's just a great and it's not so much of a Hawaii connection, but it is I guess it's more of a personal one for me, but it shows more of the diversity of your family. And you're going to be doing this Old Soul tour that's coming up, and I don't see Hawaii on it. And maybe sometime, maybe you could come. Maybe you could do a thing for. I'll put a bug in your ear, because your brother even has the song about being on the beach in Hawaii, which no doubt you've sung on and been a part of. Maybe y'all can come out and do a benefit thing and for Maui, and
we would be honored to.
And love to. Try to put that bug in people's ear, and if you need any kind of help on it, get in touch. Your guy John knows how to do that. But anything, I'm just riffing with you. It'd be a great idea. Your brother hasn't been here in a long time. He used to come all the time. Ziggy, I'm talking about. He used used to play
Yeah,
here frequently.
definitely. Yeah.
But anyway, so back to this thing. Final question. It's an interesting one. So when I think of this tour that is coming up, I have wondered if I don't see it on there, but I wonder if Wilmington, Delaware, will be on the list because not many people know. There is a fascinating connection. And I say this because I was not born there, but I was raised in Wilmington, Delaware until I
Oh,
was
wow.
18. And so it is the first state, and this is the last state. So that was the very first state to join the country, Hawaii the last. And
Yeah.
that state has a very, as far as I know, it goes back to at least your grandmother, potentially earlier.
Yeah.
It continues to this day, Ziggy told me once. So please walk us all the way back to the very, very beginning and explain how the great Marley family connects to Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay. So the family connect to Delaware through my grandmother's side, which is Malcolm. Right. So my grandmother's father is Malcolm.
Okay. Sedelia?
Right.
Sedelia Booker?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Is Malcolm. Now, where we come from in Jamaica is in the country is St. Anne's. Is a small little town in the country. A lot of the residents there migrated like through farm working and such forth to Delaware.
Okay.
Right. So that is how it started there from just
What year?
I don't remember what year.
Okay.
Tell you the truth. That before me and thing. But that's how it started from the St. Anne's folks moving to Delaware to do work in America and thing. And such forth the history,
And then it includes some really interesting things. Like, so from like the late 60s, your grandmom is living there.
Yeah.
And at some point, your father is living and working in Wilmington,
Yeah.
Delaware. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you know what kind of work he was doing?
He was driving a forklift.
Wow. In Wilmington.
Yeah. Yeah, he was driving a forklift for Ford Motors.
I love it. I love it. And your little brother, I'm sorry, your big brother went to elementary school in Wilmington at the same time that I was going, but at a different
Oh, wow.
yes, at a different school. And I was at Highlands, and I forget where. Ziggy did not remember which one it was.
Yeah.
But
Sidella went there as well.
say again.
Sidella, he and Sidella went to that school. Yeah.
In Wilmington, right? And
Yes.
and you were actually born there.
Yeah, yeah. I was one. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed.
What a great story. And
Indeed.
one of the fascinating parts of it is it doesn't end, right? Because Ziggy volunteered one time. Oh, and we still have family there. They still have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
who are they? Do you have connection to those people? Like,
Yes, man. Yeah, man. All my cousins and my grand aunts and granduncles. Yeah, man. We still have a nice amount of family there. Yeah.
that is so funny in Wilmington itself.
In Wilmington.
And do you go there to visit your family?
Not often, but I do.
They have
years ago.
They have
Sorry.
they now, since I live there, they actually have bands and stuff play there. Unbelievable as that is. So they actually
Wow.
they have all kinds of rock shows. You could actually play there sometime. I don't think your dad ever played. I looked a lot in the history.
I don't think so either. No.
He would play Philly. That was where that would
Yeah.
be the closest
Yeah.
thing at the Tower Theater. Well, what a great connection that you have. Any particular Delaware memories that come to mind that just make you laugh when you think that you're actually talking to somebody else who can appreciate it? Did you eat the food there, or like the subs and steaks? Did you like that pizza and cheesesteaks and?
Well, not the steaks.
I love it, my brother. Well,
Definitely. I have quite a few fun memories there, man. I remember one day waking up and my dad was outside. And I went out to him. And him said, "Good morning, sir." It was very important to him. Manners and these things was very important to him. So, he said, "Good morning, sir," to me. And I said, "Good morning." And he asked me if I prayed. This maybe I'm like 4 years old, He asked me if I prayed. And I'm thinking to myself, well, man, I can't say I don't pray because he's not going to be pleased with that. But then I can't lie.
Right.
So in Jamaica, when we go to school, we have I don't think they have it here too in America, but we have devotion. That's the first thing you go to is devotion in the morning before you start the school morning. We have devotion, and in devotion, we pray. So I said to him, yes, I pray. And he said, what do you say? So I was expecting like just the yes to be the end of the conversation. No, he wanted to know what I said. So I knew the Lord's Prayer then. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me. So I recited that just by knowing it, and him said to me, good. When you finish prayer, you must say, Rastafari, but don't let anyone hear you. That's what he said to me. I must say Rastafari, but don't let anyone hear.
And that's a memory from Wilmington, Delaware.
Delaware, yeah.
Wow. What a great way for you to high fives, my brother, sharing that. That's really cool. Just shows blessed to you. Just shows the diversity you cats have. And you can't fault a cat from a state like that. It doesn't really have much else besides good turkey subs and stuff. But the new record is Old Soul, and just great. It was great hearing your wonderful voice too, Stephen. Thank you for singing. And the Ray Charles. Would you sing just a line or two of the Ray Charles for us, just so we could hear your beautiful voice?
I'm going to tell you like a story about the Ray Charles now. So, on the record, I originally did it Jam Down, which is Jamaica.
Right.
I didn't say Georgia, but then when we went to the publishers, now they didn't want me to change the lyrics from Georgia to Jam Down. So I love the song so much that I just went back and did Georgia is a fine old sweet song, Georgia on my mind. Yeah.
I love it, man. Giving you a big hug and a high five, and I hope you had fun. Did you feel respected and appreciated and everything today, my brother?
As usual, my brother. Thank you so much.
And really good vibes from you, and please do my best to your family, and if you think about coming out and doing something for Maui, it'd just be great to see you, and giving you the warmest of embraces, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, and please give my love to Hawaii as well, and let them know that our prayers is with them always, and thank them for embracing our culture and our family the way they do. And God bless them.
Right on, man. No question. It's very big here. Reggae's powerful everywhere, but here, very special. Stay safe, my brother. Much respect. Maximum respect.
Maximum. Blessed love.
Aloha.
Aloha.